Hello, Once Forest Focus. As Nottingham Forest learned their Europa League fate after squeezing past Fenerbahce last night, we'll discuss that draw, reflect on the match at the City Ground, and preview the trip to Brighton in the company of first for Mikey Clarke. Mikey, afternoon, mate. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, really good. We're through to the last 16, aren't we? It was a bit edgy yesterday, but job done. Yeah, I'm fine, mate. How are you? You feeling a bit better?
I'm feeling better. Yeah, antibiotics are kicking in. Mouth's getting a bit better. Neck's getting a bit better. Yeah, and I slept better. So yeah, good. Thank you. Good. Thank you. Steve Battlemuch, how you doing?
Yeah, better than I was 2 minutes into the second half, and I thought it was all going to go up and away, shall we say? But yeah, we got there in the end, didn't we? But God, we make it hard work, don't we?
We do. But yeah, we'll talk about the game in more depth. We'll start though with the Europa League draw. It took place earlier in somewhere. I don't actually know where it took place, but we will play Midtjylland in the last 16. So I'll put up the last 16 first, and I'll put up our path to it. People can see on screen who the teams are, but I think we managed to avoid all the big hitters. However, the draw works. We haven't got Villa, Roma, Bologna, Betis. Although I would have liked to play Betis. Steve was ready to go back there, and I was as well. But Midtjylland it is, and then the path has been set to the final if we can get that far. So you'll see we play Midtjylland as mentioned. The quarterfinal would be Porto or Stuttgart. And then the semi-final would be one of Bologna, Roma, Lille, or Aston Villa if we get that far. So now we know where we're going. Steve, kick us off. Like I say, you've been scrambling for flights already. How are you feeling about the draw?
Well, I think we're in the tough half of the draw if we've potentially got to play Roma or Villa at some point. And it's not guaranteed that we get through Stuttgart or Porto, although we beat Porto quite easily at the City Ground, it has to be said. I'm got tickets permitting. I'm going to Denmark. I've got the flights booked already and accommodation. It's going to be strange because I think it's a really small ground, so it's going to be one of those where we probably only get about 800 tickets at most. But it'll be a completely new experience. Central Denmark. Land of Giants and all that. But we go there second. So massive game, which is now I think 13 days away at home, and we've got to take something to there. I think we've got to take a lead to there, and I hope we fill out the City Ground for it as well, because there was a lot of empty seats there last night. But let's hope round of 16, being at home first, we sort of get the crowd we need.
I've somehow made my screen tiny. You both look like pinheads. I don't know how I've done it, but standard Forest Focus claps. Mikey, how do you feel about that draw?
I was hoping for Betis, if I'm honest, because I think that might suit us a bit more. I just have nightmares, remembering when Midtjylland, when they came to the City Ground, realised it was a different era for us. I realise that we really, really struggled with balls into the box. It is a bit of a weakness of ours. So I'm a little bit nervous about it. I think, Steve, you're right. I think we probably need to take some sort of lead there to protect. But if you look at that draw that you just put up, Matt, it's not the hardest route, is it? You look at some of those other teams, we have avoided quite a few of the big hitters. And you like to think that when you play one of them, it's either going to be the semis or the final, which I think is probably about right. So all in all, I'm pretty content with it. Last night was a struggle at times, but at the end of the day, we got through 4-2 and we're through to the last 16, and that's what we need to focus on. We're a few weeks away from remarkable glory, and whilst that's still possible, we all have to believe it's possible. And we got Midtjylland, and let's be honest, we owe them one, don't we? So let's get them down the City Ground. As Steve says, let's get it packed, let's get it rocking, let's turn them over, and then let's see how far we can go.
How far does your gut tell you, Steve, will go? Well, now you've seen the whole path.
Well, semi-final, possibly. I think can you imagine Villa in the semi-final home and away, or even Roma? Roma would be nice, wouldn't it? I came out, to be honest, of the game last night quite down for me. I'm normally a glass half full person, and I thought if after that first half, I feared for us both in Premier League and whether we'd go much further in this competition. But I've been to bed, woke up, thought, come on, get a grip, Steve. And what is clear now, we're knockout football, and it's what you do over 2 legs. And we won this tie because we had a brilliant first leg, didn't we? In a really intimidating atmosphere with our best 11. And that's the problem we've got for the next 11 Premier League games and however many Europa League games is how many games can that best 11 play? If we have our best 11 on the pitch, I think we can make progress and stay up. Once we start getting into injuries, suspensions, it looks a bit threadbare to me about who comes in after them.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that. That's probably the big talking point. I see the Guardian reporting we've hired a new head of medical whose name escapes me. He was a Spurs doctor when under Ange, and they had a lot of injuries, but they fell out by the sound of it. Might have been some finger pointing, but the Guardian reporting that Forest are a little worried how many injuries we've had this season. But we'll talk more around that and teams. So it's a big point. Same sort of question to you, Mike, on the Europa League, but also how far qualifies as success for you?
Good question. We can win it. Boynes has just put in the chat, we can still win it. Mentality, absolutely spot on. We're one of the favourites to win this competition. And,
third favourite.
There you go. And Boynes was telling me in the pub before, he thought we'd win 4-0. I reminded him of that when they got their penalty. I said, have you got the 4-0 from right round? But we can win it. We can absolutely win it. Steve, you touched on a great point about the squad. We're going to go into that, I'm sure. But that first team, when it's on the pitch, is a match for anybody. I've not seen anybody in this tournament so far that I am genuinely scared of. And I don't think Forest could beat on their day. So whilst we're in it, whilst we're living and breathing, we should try and win it. There becomes that question about the balance with league, which we're going to go into. But we are close now. Remember last season when we were in the FA Cup and we got to the semis and we're having the same debate, can we win it? How close we were to that. If we would have turned up on the day against Man City, it's then Palace in the final. We can beat them. So we're getting really, really close to these cup competitions. We were in the FA Cup the other time. We're in the League Cup with Cooper, weren't we? We're getting to the last 16 of this. One of the times we're going to go on and achieve something magnificent. And why can't it be this year? Why can't it be the Europa League? So what constitutes success, Matt? I think just going as far as we can in this competition. I think if we get to the semi-finals, the last 4, and it just doesn't drop for us, I think we'll look back with a lot of pride that we gave it a real good go, especially with the turmoil that we've had this season. But like I said, we're in it to win it, and let's just go for it.
I've been looking today a little bit at how many changes teams tend to make in Europe, and it was only anecdotal. I only did it for a brief while, but Arsenal seem to make, they made anything from 1 to 7. So I think it's horses for courses. But a lot of these teams generally seems to be around 3 or 4. Fullbacks are often rotated. Big issue for us. Wingers are often one's rested. A midfielder's rested. And generally they keep the core, the triangle of centre halves and keeper plays. I think for me, that's probably the formula that we need now. One of Anderson or Sangare is going to have to sit. And one of Aina or Williams is probably going to have to sit, but it presents such a big problem around who plays there. But I don't think, Steve, we can play 11 players every single game this season. There has to be like 3 or 4 changes every match, and that means if Lorenzo Luca has to play, then he's going to have to play because Chris Wood's out till April, optimistically by the sound of it. And I'm really hoping for an injury update on Taiwo. Because that just changed the picture slightly, but Taiwo's got 1 goal in 2 years as well. So how many changes do you think we're going to have to make for these games now to give us a fighting chance in both competitions?
Well, I think in the Europa League, we can probably only get away with making 3 or 4. And that could even be tougher in the further up we go, the competition. I've just looked. Midtjylland are second in their league. They've sort of won 13 games, drawn 6, only lost 2 out of 21 games. They won't be a pushover, and we've seen how tall they are and all the rest of it. But it's rightly everyone's going to be looking at the performance in the Premier League games either side of the Europa League game, and it's the drop off last night with that first half and the players that came in. Was really worrying. I don't want to pile on players because sometimes that's incredibly disruptive. But Luca, as I said earlier, that I think there's more movement in a lamppost at times. It just seems so static. And unless you've plant the ball directly on his head, which we're not very good at doing, then he doesn't offer a lot, does he?
I saw Pat in the chat, Mikey, saying we can't change the back four.
Yeah.
But I suppose I agree with Pat, but also I think we probably have to, because you can't. I don't think you can play Aina and Williams every single game. Well, Williams probably has done, but can you just play the back four every single match? But then if anyone pops a hamstring and misses the rest of the season, I'd really, really fear for us in the Premier League.
It's such a balancing act, isn't it? And I don't really have the answer in terms of definitive, this is what I would do. I think the point that Steve just made is the crucial point, though, which is, we spent a hell of a lot of money. And we were talking last season about the drop-off. There's an argument to say the drop-off now is even more stark, which is absolutely astonishing when you think about it. So I think the bedrocks of our team, as you were saying, Matt, are the goalkeeper, who's done well, actually, all Sells. I don't think we've got an issue there. Our first choice back four is as good as anything in the top 7 or 8 in the Premier League, I think. Certainly as good as anything in this competition. I think our first choice midfield picks itself, and then you have problems going up front. So the risk of rotating a back four is plain, and it's there for all to see. I just wish we were a few more points better off in the league. And it may be, I guess the saving grace is because it's a two-legged affair, you've always got a chance to recover in the second leg, or you've always got a chance to go strong and kind of blow teams out of the water if indeed we can do that. So I guess the answer is, fullback, we've got a huge problem. Maybe you give Aina 45 and Williams 45 and you rotate that way. Maybe you look at Cunha at right back, because I thought he did okay yesterday, both at right back and centre back. Other than that, I'd be playing Milenkovic. I'd be playing Murillo at centre back. I'd be playing the first choice goalkeeper. I'd be playing one of Sangare or Anderson and having that as your bedrock for Europa League going forward. And then, as Steve said, changing 3 or 4 around them. You can basically do what you want with the front 3 or 4 because they're not producing, are they? So there's an option to say you play backward McAtee and Ndoye, or you play Butchinson, Gibbs White, and whoever, Callum. They're all struggling in some shape or form. But I think what will probably happen in the next few weeks is he'll find that core and he'll find that consistency, however that looks. My worry is that we're going to go into single digits now in the league, and we're 1 game away from the relegation zone, and we cannot get relegated. We just cannot. It will be an unmitigated disaster. We spent 23 years out of the league last time. We even dropped even further to League One. I cannot do that again. Nor can a lot of fans, and nor can the owner. The owner cannot have that. So if Pereira does have to make a decision, he will obviously favour the league, which is why these next few games in the league are so important. Brighton away, Fulham at home, even Man City away. Can we do something special there? If we can create a 1 or 2 game buffer between West Ham and us, then the decision in Europa League takes care of itself, doesn't it? He'll play the first team. But whilst we're 1 game away from dropping, he's got to make those tough choices. And unfortunately, it probably does mean rotating some of the back four. I don't like saying it, but it's just the truth. They're human beings. They're knackered. You saw it second half at Liverpool. They ran out of steam. So he's going to have to make those tough choices. And I don't envy him, to be honest, but that's what he's paid for.
I think, Matt, I don't think it was in the script last night, was it, for Ndoye or Backward not to get any minutes, which is bizarre, really, because they both needed minutes. And, I'd have started with Backward, to be honest. And to me, it was a strange decision to not play McAtee as a 10, which is clearly his best position, because on the wing, he just looked lost. He'd get the ball and he'd just play it backwards all the time rather than taking on the defender. So, we've clearly got some issues with those backup players. Somebody said to me in the Trenton last night, what would you give for Jota Silva coming on for 30 minutes and just terrorising them, running at them and clattering in? Because, we wanted an upgrade, didn't we, on Jota Silva? And I'm not convinced we've got it.
I think we've got a talent upgrade. I think Boyne's in the chat. I think we were discussing this in a WhatsApp chat last night. Jota Silva played to his absolute maximum, I feel, last season, and you knew what you were going to get. I feel that the wingers we've got now are talented, but they're probably playing at 60, 70% of their potential. And that's a real problem for us, at least till the end of this season. Because they're not suddenly going to hit 100% now, I don't think. So it's yet another case of me saying, oh, we just got to muddle through and redress it. Just to highlight as well the challenges that Pereira faces, the round dates. So we'll play Midtjylland's home leg on the 12th. Then it's Fulham on the 15th. Then the second leg. Then Spurs. 2 absolutely massive games for us. Then in the Premier League, then a break for the quarterfinal. Then it's Villa at home, second leg. Then it's Burnley at home. 2 more massive games. That clutch of games, Fulham to Burnley, there's how many games is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Then Sunderland away. Those, in theory, Mikey, are the games that we're targeting just keep us in the Premier League, and we've got to go through Europe. So, I mean, this is Pereira's going to earn his crust, and he did it last night, but I think he learned some lessons, and he admitted some mistakes on his own part, didn't he, as well?
Yeah, he did. I liked his interview. I'll talk about it in a sec. But yeah, you're right in terms of the those fixtures, because the rest of them are both Manchester clubs away and Chelsea away, which is not going to be easy. So those probably are the fixtures that he's targeting. Going back to his press conference, I did like that. I love the smile. I love the positivity. Especially after Liverpool as well. Everyone was down. He came out and said, we've got to stay strong. We've got to believe. He did the same last night. He held his hands up a little bit, not like previous incumbents that potentially wouldn't have done that. He actually said, look, okay, it is. I've changed 6. It's my decision. We go again. We want them fresh for Brighton. He talked about having a focus on the next game, which I love. I've always said that. Like, people always go, oh, it's just, let's take stock of what's right in front of you. No, I always think the best managers look 2 or 3 games ahead and plan and think, right, this is what we're going to do. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. But if you don't look that far, it's like playing chess. If you don't look that far ahead, you'll get beat, because somebody will be looking that far ahead and will have planned more thoroughly than you. So he's thinking 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead, which is great, which gives me faith that he's going to make the right decisions. I think he would have learned a lot about his team yesterday, a lot. So we were saying in the stand at half time, how many subs do you reckon he's going to make then? 1, 2, 3? Will he give him another 10 minutes? He makes 4. Like, here we go, 4. So he's obviously peed off with them. He's obviously read the right act at half time. He's learned a lot about all those players. He's learned about the ones that he can not trust. It's a bit too strong at this point in time, but the ones that he can maybe rely on to give him that uplift. The ones that he potentially gave a chance to yesterday didn't take that chance. So that he'll be looking at them in the next week and say, right, how are you going to react? How do you react to adversity? Everybody can have a bad game. Everybody. Yates yesterday was not great, but the previous European game, he played like bloody Messi, didn't he? So everybody can have a bad game, right? So he'll be looking at training this week to see how you guys react. And I just love what he was saying about group mentality. He was talking about the fans. He was saying all the right things, which is great. And as long as he's then doing that in training, I'm still expecting to see a really high energy, positive performance at Brighton, not sitting behind the ball and just waiting to get beat for 100 minutes. And I think that's what you'll get. So he's really tough, but I think he's doing all the right things. He showed us last night he's not afraid to make a decision, right? And that's good. We all moaned, myself included, about the previous manager not making substitutions. He'll just make 4 at half time if it's not working. That's a fact. He did it yesterday. So I love that. And they've all got to contribute. We talk about our first 11, 12, 13 being the go-to guys. We had it last season, didn't we? We had that core, didn't we? 13, 14. It's the same again this season. It's mainly the same players. But because we're juggling this additional competition, because we're playing Thursday, Sunday, he's got to rely on these players. So we'll be looking for a reaction. He'll be looking for that mentality. Can I say something else? Edward on Twitter, or X, or whatever you call it, was talking about when you look at recruitment and you price in all the metrics, do you price in things like mentality and emotional resilience and what you're like as a person and where you are in your life and all that sort of stuff? I don't have the answer to that, but I've always thought that. So Pereira is going to find that out this week. He's going to find out about how these guys react to a bit of adversity and a bit of being dragged off at half time. And let's just see. Let's hope 1 or 2 of them prove us all wrong and prove him wrong and show that they are worthy to be here and to be part of what could still be an incredible season. I know I'm quite positive, weirdly enough, but I genuinely think we can win this competition, and I think we can stay up, but it's going to take more than 11 players. It's going to take everybody to contribute.
Yeah, I don't think the scouting data has expected chaos and things like that as well behind the scenes have played into it. Although I think we are at the point where some of these players have had a lot of chances, and we need to see a bit more from them. Well, as Mikey said, we are going to have to use some of these players, so they're going to have to deliver in some of these games, as they have fleetingly when they've been utilised properly and stood up themselves. We'll pick up on another point Mikey said there around the subs and who did stand up on the night. Just for that quick word for the Trent Nav. The Brighton game is televised. It's on Sunday. All the Sunday games are televised, so you can watch it at the Nav and make a day of it. Get your lunch there and everything. And then coming up next Friday, over the road launch party, 6 p.m, free entry. Everyone's welcome. You'll get free pizza. You'll get discount beer and drinks offers. And then there's good music from Oasis as well. I won't ask Steve about his free drinks offer at the weekend. It was quite funny. But that's stay between us. Right. Let's just picking up on that subs point then, Steve. It was telling that he hooks Murillo, who I think I said on last night's show was winding me up a bit with the way he went about it all. And he left Morato and Cunha on. Morato, we discussed Morato at length, and probably the same frailties around high presses and being exposed in space were there again last night, although he did all right second half. But I thought Cunha did pretty well. The penalty was debatable, and we discussed his part in the first goal a bit. But in general, as a young player who hasn't played much, did you think he did fairly well?
Yeah, I did. And I was at the Newcastle game where I think he was his only other game where he played a significant amount of minutes. And he was quite good in that defeat at Newcastle, where I think we held Newcastle for 60 minutes to 0-0. He looks confident. He looks quick. I think he is somebody who should now be the first option when Milenkovic and Murillo aren't available at centre back. And I'd be happy for him to be a centre back pairing with either one of them, to be honest. When we need to rest one of them, maybe got a tad caught out on the penalty, but he didn't seem to put him off his game, and he recovered. Morato it always feels like there's a mistake in Morato. That said, he made a couple of decent interventions last night as well. Keeper kept us in it a couple of times, with a couple of decent saves. I mean, it was a bizarre game because we also had 3 chances where we should have at least scored 2 of them. So it's worrying in terms of who's the next to step up. I still think there's more to come from Ndoye. I think he's probably going to be one of the first subs on when we're looking for extra wingers. And Dominguez always gives you 100%, but I'm not sure on the wing is the best place for him. But if you're trying to protect a lead or just trying to stifle the midfield, then Dominguez is someone you can always rely on. But it's the forward line, isn't it? The worry is that there isn't the goals in the Premier League because Jesus comes off maybe after 70 minutes. Who comes on? We all hope now it's Taiwo, don't we? And we hope that Chris Wood gets back for April.
True. What was I say? Oh, the keeper's a low-key worry, Mikey, actually, because Ortega was hobbling second half. Pereira said Sells is back in training on Monday. We'll do our Brighton preview in a minute, but it's good timing because Ortega has done pretty well. My only slight worry is he pushes a couple out into hideous areas, but otherwise he's done well. Are you all right if Gunn has to play 1 game or 2 games, or is that a terminal issue for us as well?
No, I think we've got what we've got, right? So, and he did all right in that second half against Palace, didn't he? I know he wasn't under the cosh or anything, but he looked solid enough. I was keeping my eye on Ortega; it was right in front of me, and he when he rushed out for some bizarre reason, I think he just
he went. He didn't go full John Victor, he went half
John
Victor.
Yeah. We went for a cup of tea or something. Yeah, he was whether it was hamstring or his thigh, he had a bit of treatment, didn't he? I was watching him after that. He looked okay. So maybe it's just something. Maybe he tweaked it and it will settle down. But if not, the good news is, like you say, Sells is back in training. So even if he comes in, or we've got Gunn, I'm not overly worried about it. To be honest, I'm more worried about the striker situation that Steve referenced. I try not to bag players, but I'll be honest. I'm not sure he's for us, this guy. I know he's only had 2 games. There was 1 point, 2 points actually. Elliot Anderson had the biggest go at him I've seen on a football pitch all season, and it was relentless for about 2 minutes when the game stopped. So I'm wondering if anybody else saw that, and he kept biting at him. And then I think Dominguez had a word and McAtee had a word. And then 2 minutes later, he went for the same challenge as Dominguez, which is mad. Because if Dominguez flicks it on, who's he flicking it onto? Because they've both gone for the same ball. And I just turned around to my friends and went, oh dear. So his movement's not great. I suspect he's a handful if we were going to play like maybe we intended to play, which is balls in the box, get it in there. But even then, I'm not so sure. And the decision to loan Callum Wendo out just looks even more bonkers, doesn't it, by the day? Because the way we play, I think he might have been ideal for this. A bit of energy, nippy, in the pockets, running in behind. I think he would have been ideal, but it's done. And we've not got him, and I hope he doesn't make his move permanent, but he might. But unless he's just had a bit of a slow start, I am hoping Taiwo is the option off the bench on Sunday. I think Lucas maybe, I don't know, we're 1-0 down with 5 minutes to go and you chuck him on and you get balls into the box. I'm not really sure he's going to give you much more than that from what I've seen. And I'm loath to write players off after like 2 or 3 games, but sometimes, you've watched 40 years of football, you just know, don't you, when players just aren't necessarily suited to what you're doing. I look at McAtee as well. Lovely player, very neat, very tidy. But there was one point yesterday where he got on the half turn and he played like he's playing for Man City. So he turned back and he gave the ball back and he recycled. You can do that when you're having 80% possession for Man City and you're winning 4-0 every week. At Forest, you get 2 or 3 chances a half max when you've got half a yard and you need to be really dynamic with the ball. And it just is not necessarily fitting what we're doing at the moment. But I do agree with Steve. I didn't like him on the wing. Like, if you're going to play him in his position and judge him then. But he's one that, again, didn't necessarily do himself a great deal of service, did he, yesterday? So, again, let's see how they react in training, and let's hope he comes off the bench on Sunday and gets us a goal, either of them. But at the moment, I don't think they're close to starting a Premier League game.
No, McAtee's best game for us, he didn't really play as a winger. He played off the wing. That was one of when Davies seemed to have some tactical acumen, because that was quite a good setup, to be fair. But on Luca, I think you're right. I mean, obviously, we have to play to his strengths, and I don't think we're going to. So it's a tough spot for him. A guy called Super Red tweeted me saying that Tyro's in the training video. So I've just been watching that while Mikey was talking, and he is in it, the pre-Fenerbahce training video. So he is available. So I would really hope that he is on the bench for Brighton, because he looked like he was doing full training. I don't know if he missed Liverpool injured or not, but he should be available. Callum Wendo is sort of a moot point now. I know what Mikey's saying, obviously, but
got to move on.
Yeah, well, it was done because they obviously didn't envision they were going to sack Davies, did they? But what Mikey says is right. Pereira's a better fit. Callum Wendo is a better fit for Pereira, but we've got. I think, it's annoying, but we got to move on and say
it goes back. It goes back. It goes back to the point I made, I think, on another podcast, which is having an ethos and identity about the way you play as a football club. And I use Swansea as a really crap example for it, but you can use Brighton. There's loads of them that you know how they're going to play. Like Forest just lurch from one style to the next, and some of it's been incredibly successful, like the way Nuno played. Some of it not so much, like the way Ange played. But I just love us to stay up the season, just settle down, and just figure out what we are, and buy the players that fits into that style and that manager. And then when the manager leaves, which they do every year, we get somebody with a similar ethos. We don't just lurch from long ball to all-out attack to all-out defence, because you never get the recruitment to match that. And inversely, what happens is, when the manager leaves, you're stuck with the previous manager's players that have been brought in to play a particular style, and we're not playing that style. And Callum Wendo is just a unfortunate example of that. So he was maybe brought in to play a style. A manager comes in that doesn't play that, he goes. Lo and behold, another manager comes in that might play that, and he's gone. So it all just needs to be a little bit more joined up. But we can discuss that in the summer. Assuming we stay up, we just need to reset, take a deep breath, and figure out what we're doing.
If people watched last week's opposition preview with Josh, it was really interesting about Liverpool and how they sign players. And all the data is driven around playing style collectively and individually. Like if Konate goes, they'll sign a centre half of the same profile, and they'll sign players who fit. Like Slot sort of plays Klopp's football. It was an evolution, but ours is like, ooh. up and down. We need a straight line consistency. I've said that repeatedly. Just on Callum Wendo, I think, as Boynesy said, there was a report that Frankfurt will only sign if they qualify for Europe. So I don't think it's like a dead cert that he's going to go. I don't know he'd have banged loads of goals for us, but anyway, we should move on because it is a moot point. Last point on this game before we talk about Brighton. Steve, I don't want you to be the voice of Forest fans, but it was pretty frustrating to see the state Fenerbahce fans left our ground in. You were in Istanbul. You and the Forest fans that went out there treated Istanbul with respect, and it sounds like Istanbul, the city, treated you with respect. The ground, your experience in the ground wasn't good at all, and Nottingham welcomed the Fenerbahce fans, and they've really let themselves down there, haven't they?
It's disgusting, really, because we did, I think, conduct ourselves really well abroad. On all of the trips, I've done 4 out of 5. I haven't really heard a sniff of an issue from Forest fans abroad. And we followed the letter of the law, of the regulations that they told us to. We couldn't take a phone battery in, so my phone died on the coach trip back. We couldn't take a sandwich in. We had to queue an hour and a half to get a glass of water because they only had 3 windows open for 1,200 people. We were treated like that. We had to go to the ground 4 hours before, and we had to stay an hour after. And we treated everybody with respect, and we were treated well in the city. But when you see what happened there, the flares coming on the pitch, the disruption to the game because of the flares, which, everybody said, oh, it looks great in the stands when it's all happening in Europe with flares like that. But when they're chucked on the pitch and they could potentially hit a player or explode, it's not very clever. And then I saw the pictures this morning of the seats. It's a good job we haven't got a game this weekend, because that stand will be closed because they're going to have to be replaced by the time we play Midtjylland in 2 weeks. It is disgusting. I hope they get fined. I hope they pay for the repairs. I'm not a great one for banning fans in Europe, but it's not a good look, is it, at all?
No, poor, certainly. Right, let's move on to the Brighton game then. We discussed it a bit last night with Sam and Chris. If people haven't seen it, I think the theme that we came to was, Mikey, we have no idea how this game's going to go. It feels like an absolute toss-up in terms of Brighton are a good team. They're in terrible form. We've been playing well in the league, but can't score a goal. But maybe we do this game. It could be anything for me. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, it could be anything. I genuinely don't know. So I watched them against Palace the other week, and they were abysmal. And then a few days later, they went to Brentford, who have got one of the best home records in the league, and beat them 2-0. So who knows what's going to go on? I think we just have to look after our own levels of performance and make sure we get the team selection right, and then worry about Brighton. I don't think we've beat them down there since we came up, have we? So
we had an absolute daylight robbery draw. Ironically, it was an evening game, and then we beat them on penalties in the cup, didn't we?
Of course, yeah, not in the lead up. So first time for everything. So maybe this is the time. I do think the first goal is absolutely crucial. If I'm honest, I think it's majorly crucial. Not to say if we get it, we're just going to sit back, but I just think we're not great at chasing, are we? And I'd like to see Brighton come out a little bit, and maybe we can exploit them on the break if we do get it. So I'm expecting a tight game. I'm expecting them to have 65% possession, but I'm expecting us to be really clinical and aggressive when we get the ball, and maybe even press them to a certain extent, not completely, because if they play through it, they'll kill you. So I think it'll be a tight game, probably 1 goal either way. But it's one of these things where we're running out of games. Like what is how many games left? Is it 11? 11?
11 in the Premier League.
Yeah. We've got Man City away, Man United away, Chelsea away. So there might be a point there, maybe 2 points. Other than Villa, Newcastle. So where are we going to win? We always say we need 4 wins. We've won 7 all season, yet we're saying we need 4 in the next 8 weeks. So this is one of the games where really you're thinking, if we're going to get them 4 wins, one of them, more likely than not, is going to be this. And we need to go there with positivity and to show that we are fit to stay in this league, which I believe we are. I think if we get the team selection right and we play anything like we played away at Fenerbahce in our last away game, we can absolutely beat them. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we sat here Sunday evening and we've lost 3-0. I mean, I genuinely don't know what to expect. I just want a level of performance which is befitting of these players. I want to see that first half against Liverpool. I want to see Fenerbahce away. I want to see us be really positive with what we do, and a team selection that shows our intent to go and win the game. Because as much as you talk about the value of a point, and I do all the time, we're getting to the stage now where 3 points is absolutely invaluable. My God, it is. If we can somehow string, I'm not saying the next 2 is going to be because we've got Man City. If we can somehow string like 2 wins in 2 games or 2 wins in 3 or 4 games, that table will look a lot differently, and it will open up possibilities for the Europa League. Like I said before, we're 6 or 7 points clear in a month. They'll chuck everything at the Europa League. But if we're still 2 points off or even in the relegation zone, then they won't. And then we're losing on both fronts. So this Sunday's game, guys, is just massive. Absolutely massive.
Just on a couple of those fixtures, I think you're right about the ones coming up, but there is we might get a team that we play them at the right time. Like I'm thinking, obviously we're in Europe as well, but Spurs are in the Champions League, so they'll be playing around that time. Villa are going to be playing Europa League. Chelsea's quite an interesting one. If they go deep in the Champions League, Rosinia's shown that he'll make changes. So there might be that odd game. It's like Man United away is going to be really tough, I think, because they're going for the top 4 and they've got no Europe and stuff like that. So I agree with Mikey. There's only a finite amount of games where we can really cash in. And I agree as well about first goal. That was in my notes, Steve. Brighton, their home form is as bad as ours. Their only win since November has been against Burnley. They'd only won 1 game in 12, and that was against Burnley before playing Brentford, when it sounds like they played really well. I didn't actually see the game. So if we can go there and set a good tone, I feel like we've got a decent chance. But if we are standoffish and concede first, it could be a long afternoon, couldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Palace beat them. I know it's a local rivalry for them. And Palace went there and beat them 1-0, didn't they? So you're dead right. We've got to go with a positive attitude, with a strong team, and take the game to them early doors and try and get ahead. I mean, I've just looked. I think the season's now split into 2, which is pre and before and after the next international break. So we've got 6 games in 3 weeks between now and the international break, and that's with a Saturday off as well for not being in the FA Cup. And you look at the games against Midtjylland. We have a week in the run up to that game without a game. We play them, then we play Fulham at home, and then we play Midtjylland away. But then we come back from Midtjylland away on the Thursday night, Friday morning to play Spurs on the Sunday. Now, you're right. I think Spurs will have probably had a Champions League game that week as well. I'm not quite sure who against and whether it'll be home or away. But, when you look at those fixtures, getting at least a point out of Brighton, I don't think we'll get anything out of City. Got to try and beat Fulham at home and then try and get something at Spurs. That then takes you into the international break, and maybe we're then in the quarterfinal as well of the Europa League. You then go into the 3 games in April, which on paper, and everything's on paper, and on paper look a bit easier for us in terms of Burnley, Villa at home, which will be tough, but at least it's at home, and then Sunderland away. Because I tell you what, you look at the fixtures in May, and it scares the bejesus out of you. So I think we've got to get some points on the board before we get into that final 4 games. But I have this book behind me, Freed from Desire. I keep in the faith because I would not swap where we are for 23 years of grimness in the Championship and League One. I'm so grateful for where we are, and we're all mad being Forest fans, aren't we? Anyway, so anything can happen, and if a goal goes in off somebody's backside on Sunday, I'll be, celebrating it like it's a worldie.
Yeah, I've got no desire to go back to the Championship, even for 1 season. I'd still worry it'd be more than 1 season. Just on Spurs, Owen in the chat correctly said that they got Atletico Madrid. So Spurs they've got Fulham this weekend, obviously. Then they've got Palace on a Thursday. That's a weird one. So they've got a packed schedule. Yeah, so this Sunday, Fulham. Thursday, Palace. Next Tuesday, Atletico Madrid. It should be, the Tuesday after. Liverpool away. Atletico Madrid at home 5 days before they play us. So there's going to be a lot on that game. And I think that's one we've really got a target with their wretched home record. So there's some massive games to come, and teams are in different situations. So I thought I'd just emphasise that one. Liverpool play West Ham this weekend as well, but I don't think we'll talk about that because we've talked about West Ham to death, and time to look after ourselves as much as anything, I think. Yeah. Just before we do team selection, Mikey, any worries that there's sort of a hangover from last night where we didn't perform, or do you see this as totally a separate game?
Yeah, we'll be all right. Be fine. We got through. If it was flipped the other way and we'd won 3-0 the second leg, wouldn't it be all right? Just got to look at it. Like, I think as fans, we always get we're obviously emotionally invested, and I'm the worst at it. Believe me, and I get it. But I'm sure the players have gone over 2 legs. We beat them 4-2. Job done. Right. What's the next game? So yeah, they didn't reach the levels last night, and a lot of it was a little bit nervous, but they pulled the goal back in the second half. They managed the game nicely. They held out. The crowd were behind them, supported. They played rocking all over the world at the end. You know, that will feel like we didn't win, but it feels like a win because we did win, because we won on aggregate. We are through to the next round. They aren't. So part that. It's now about the league. They'll be absolutely fine. They'll be prepped for the Brighton visit. They'll be ready and rearing to go. It's how you look at things. You can look and go, we've barely won a league game this year. I don't think we have. When was the last game we won at home? Was it Tottenham? When was that? Was that last year?
God, it was. Last game we won was Brentford.
The bigger mind game stat is the last time a striker scored at home for us in the Premier League was Chris Wood.
I know.
So you can look at that, and that's right. That's correct. You can't say that's wrong. Or you could say, do you know what? The last 3 games we played Fenerbahce off the park in their own ground. We were brilliant against Liverpool and really unlucky. And yes, we lost last night, but we got through. So let's go to Brighton away and get something. You can look at it that way. I mean, either way is true, right? But I'm sure the players are professional enough and resilient enough. And I spoke about resilience. I think that could be the key determining factor for us to be staying up. We haven't got time to mope around. We've got to get over it as a group, as a team, as a city. We've got to give everything we've got to this last 2 months to get them over the line. And the players will be acutely aware of that. They'll be ready to go on Sunday, Matt. I've no worries about that. They'll be fit and firing and ready to go and knowing. And I hate watching West Ham. I think I know more about their team than any other team because I've watched them so much.
No.
If they get beat on Saturday, which hopefully they will, and we get a positive result on Sunday, things will look a lot better. Mm-hmm. And we'll have a little bit of breathing space, which is what I spoke about. And West Ham's next 3 are really tough as well. So it could look even better. And that's what they'll be focused on. Positive. This is what we're going to do. This is in our hands. Whatever happens with West Ham will happen. But they've got a really tough run. We can get some points here. And we can progress through Europe as well. And that's what they'll be focusing on.
Yeah, win the weekend, as I've said a few times on here. Right, we'll do team selection next. After a short word from, of all people, Tiny Temper.
Nottingham, what's good? Tiny Temper here. I'll be performing an exclusive one-off gig, 8 for the 8, at Rock City in Nottingham for Rockcore. Here's the deal, it's very simple. Give 4 hours of your time to a Rockcore volunteer project, and you can earn a free ticket to the gig. Can't buy the ticket, you have to earn them. This is your chance to be part of something positive in your city, make a real impact, and then we can all celebrate the moment together. It's going to be unforgettable. I'll see you there.
Why is Tiny Temper talking to us? I hear you ask, or perhaps not. But anyway, the reason is we've teamed up with a company called Rock Corps, and they do this really cool set of gigs around the world. And the idea is it's straightforward but weird, quite cool. You can't buy a ticket for the gigs. You have to volunteer in the community. So you volunteer for 4 hours for local charities in Nottingham, and in return, they will give you a ticket to the Tiny Temper's gig at Rock City. It's on the 8th of April at Rock City, as I say. So you have to just Google Nottingham Rock Corps. It's top of Google. The link is in the description as well. You can sign up there for, I think there's 4 different projects you can sign up for. Give 4 hours and you have the chance to get a ticket, or you get a ticket for this gig at Rock City with Tiny Temper. You've got to be over 16 to take part. And I know our listenership doesn't slant necessarily 16 to 24, but if you've got sons, daughters, students, nephews, nieces, brothers, sisters, anyone who you think would enjoy the experience, point them towards it. Just search Nottingham Rock Corps, and you'll be part of a really cool project. I had a meeting with them. The guy who runs it is a big Forest fan who lives in America, who was talking to me about the business and everything he does. It's a really cool project, so I'm really glad to be part of it. So check it out, and hopefully Stephen will be on it. I'm not sure Tiny Temper will be on the podcast, but Stephen, who runs the whole setup, will be. Right, let's do team selection then. We've all submitted the same team, and it's the team that's played in the league the last few games. So I don't even know if I need to put it on screen. It's Sells, Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo, Williams, Anderson, Sangare, Gibbs, White in midfield, Hutchinson and Hudson-Odoi either side of Igor Jesus. Were you tempted, Steve, at all to do anything radical, or does it just make sense to stick with what's done pretty well for us in those other two games?
Well, it won't be Sells in goal, but apart from that,
sorry.
But I was a bit tempted because in terms of how knackered some of those players will be. Hutch played 90 minutes last night. He was good in flashes, but went off the boil at times. So I don't know whether N'Doye would give us something, but I suspect he'll start with Hutch and maybe bring N'Doye on. Dominguez always gives you a different option in terms if you want to try and keep it tighter rather than a more attacking option. But yeah, I can't see that we can play anything other than that team really, and then carefully use the bench as we need to, and hope that maybe Taiwo's on the bench as well as an option.
Yeah, I think Gunn might be in goal. I saw someone in the chat saying Paul Taylor's tweeted about a minor calf problem for Ortega, so maybe they patch him up and he gets through it. I don't know. Mikey, what were your thoughts around team selection? Were you thinking of maybe taking Hutchinson out because he's knackered or anything like that, or same team was easy for you?
Well, they always say, don't they, that at this time of the season, the crunch time, you've got to know your best team. And I think we know our best team for one route or the other. Maybe not reach this destination through choice, but I think this is our best team. And I think if this is the best team, you've got to play it in the league as often as you possibly can. I think it's as simple as that. Yeah. So you play this best team for the next 11 games. You'd like to think they'll win 3 or 4 of them, and that could be enough. And then Europa will just have to take care of itself. We've now got our best team, I think. I'll be surprised if anybody... There's maybe a debate to be had around Hutchinson, as Steve was saying, but I think, honestly, this is probably our best team, isn't it? So I think you just have to play this consistently as much as you can, and then in the last third of the game, look at the bench, check the game state, see if we can win the football match with some positive substitutions, or hold on to it if we're 1-2-0 up. But I think that will be in Pereira's mind. I now know my best team. The fans know the best team. Let's get it on the pitch. Get the money on the pitch. Let's try and win some football games. Just on a side note, that Tiny Temper thing's like the coolest thing you've ever had on this podcast.
It was a really interesting meeting with them. But yeah, it's a great thing to be involved in. Yeah,
it's brilliant. Get them to do some metal and punk bands, and I'll do the volunteering, and I'll go to some gigs at Rock City.
They've teamed up with Lady Gaga's done it for them. Black Eyed Peas, Macklemore, around the world. It's a big thing around the world. It's quite interesting anyway.
That's so cool, and that's testament to like what you're doing on here, Matt. I think it's great. But no, I'd love to see in the chat now anybody that disagrees with that team or has another view. I don't think he'll go 3 at the back. I think it's too risky. I think he's going to go back 4, get your first team on the pitch every single league game, try and win 4 of them, job done.
Yeah. And one last thing on the Rock Corps thing is because he's a big Forest fan, I think he wanted to do something for Nottingham as well, which is cool as well. Right. Just Paul Taylor's piece, just referencing it because it's come out now. As we mentioned last night on the pod, New Zealand media was saying that Chris Wood's targeting a mid-April return. In Tails' piece here, it says return for some point in April for Wood, which would be useful. I know you can't expect him to score 5 in 5 or however many games he plays, but even a couple of goals from Chris Wood playing on adrenaline would be massive for us. As mentioned, a minor hamstring worry or calf worry for Ortega, who could miss the game, so Angus Gunn. is on standby, and Matt Sells will return to training next week. I said earlier about Forest were appointing a new head of medical. His name is Jeff Scott. He was with Spurs, and he's been appointed to address the club's current injury issues. Well, the major injury issues I think we've had are Aina and Wood. So it's not been as bad as it was in previous seasons. Right.
Have I understood that wrong? We're hiring Spurs medical.
Yeah, I know. And Spurs
have got the worst injury list and have done for the last 2 years.
Well, this chap's going to have a chance to prove that it was Angie's fault, not his, I think. Because it seems like they had a clash, according to the report in The Guardian, about...
Don't we have Ange to thank for putting Wood on for that 20-minute cameo?
I think we do. Yeah, he played 18 minutes against Chelsea, and I've said this repeatedly, couldn't move, and he's not played since. So I fear... But I don't have any proof of that, but yeah, I've said it repeatedly. Right, Steve, anything you want to add before we go?
Well, I think let's finish on that positive of maybe getting Chris Wood back. I mean, there'll be a massive expectation. That's the problem, won't there? That he'll step in and score a few and keep us up, which, you know, he would then be Sir Chris Wood, wouldn't he? But you look at that April thing. We've got Villa at home, we've got Burnley at home, Sunderland away. If we could get him into a couple of those games, that would be massive, particularly if he's anything like he was last year. He'll be wanting to get back to the World Cup, won't he? So he'll want some games under his belt before that, you would think. And that's what keeps me motivated about the other players that we've got on the pitch. You know, the likes of Anderson, Gibbs-White and others, they want to finish the season strong, don't they? They don't want to have a relegation on their CV. They don't want to whimper out in the Europa League. You know, we have got in that first 11 some very good players who maybe have got one eye on where they're going next, but they don't want to go out with a whimper. And we've just got to get behind them and get the fans behind them and fill all those seats and, you know, bring it on. I'm already looking forward to sampling Central Denmark.
I saw Greg's already got his tickets as well. I noticed that. His flight, not his tickets. He's got his flights booked. Mikey, anything from you before we go?
Just a couple of things. We are through to the next round of the Europa League, which is great. So that's the way I left the ground yesterday. Not the best performance, but it was job done. So there we go. We go again, and we keep pushing, and we try and aim for glory while we've still got a dog in the fight, which is great. Good luck to everybody going down to Brighton. My parents used to live there. I've been to the ground numerous times, and it is one that will be very quiet if we get on top. So those behind the goal just sing, and you'll out-sing them within about 10 minutes. And I know I'll have Brighton fans watching this having a go at me, but you're not the loudest ground. And I think you're going to stick 3,500 behind that goal. So that could be an extra man for Forest on Sunday. So if you're going down there, be loud and proud as always. And just one more thing, just thanks to Pete, Blackburn and Will for sponsoring me. I'm doing a 10K run for cancer research in June. I'll put the link up in a few weeks or something. But just thank you for all those that have sponsored me so far. It's obviously a great cause and stuff. And if you want to sponsor me, let me know and I'll talk about it in a few weeks. But yeah, you Reds.
I was going to say, plug your 10K. I'll sponsor you as well.
Thank you, mate.
I'll put the link in the description.
I've
got it somewhere on WhatsApp. Actually, can you WhatsApp it to me and I'll put it up? Ending on a sad note, but message of support. People will probably listen to this and listen to Red Side of the Trent. Adam, who hosts Red Side of the Trent, people might know that his wife's been ill for a long time with cancer and she sadly passed away. So best wishes to Adam and his family at the loss of Emma, who was obviously very dear to him. Of course, it goes without saying. So I thought I'd say that from all of us associated with the podcast, because you can't imagine what a horrible loss it is for him. So very sad news indeed. So we'll end on that. But just to say, back tomorrow with an opposition preview and then post-match show from Brighton and then back to normal on Monday. Thanks to everyone who's joined us. Do hit like before you go and subscribe. Thanks to Mikey and thanks to Steve as well. And if we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.